He came, he opened the door, and he was screaming, "Come on, help me. Somebody shot my mother and father." And everyone ran out of the bar, and that was it. They all took off. No, I had to stay. I was tending bar this time.
Why safeguarded?
Why? Because there's 6 members of the family dead, and we don't know why, and he's the sole remaining member.
Is he also a suspect?
He's not a suspect at this time.
Few people in the neighborhood knew the family well, but those who did described them as close-knit.
This packaging here actually contains all of the fingernail scrapings, hair samples, blood samples, and other assorted forensic items that were removed from the DeFeo victims. And obviously very interesting because you can see all the stuff that, as you will probably recognize, covered Louise DeFeo that night. I had originally asked for all of the clothing worn by the victims, and Suffolk County was unable to locate most of that stuff, but they did find this blanket in a box, and when bundled next to it are actually Louise DeFeo's bed sheets from the bed. These obviously this was the bedding that was beneath her, you know, the money shot. This was the .35 Marlin 336 that Butch DeFeo allegedly used to kill his family. It was certainly involved in the crime, though we also believe that there were other guns involved in the crime.
That the DeFeos are all dead.
Thus, that they were all dead. I think those were the words.
Said, Mark was dead.
He opened the door, and he was screaming, "Come on, help me. Somebody shot my mother and father." And everyone ran out of the bar, and that was it.
Police have been questioning the son, Ronald, and now say he is being, quote, safeguarded. Investigators say without explanation that they now feel young DeFeo was in the house at the time of the murders, but they're not yet considering him a suspect. And so forth.
No suspect at this time. We have no indication of the motive at this time.
What about Ronald DeFeo, the son, the surviving son?
Ronald is being safeguarded by the Suffolk County Police at this time.
Why safeguarded?
Why? Because there's 6 members of the family dead, and we don't know why, and he's the sole remaining member.
Is he also a suspect?
He's not a suspect at this time.
They were just very sweet, very religious people, very family-minded people. And that's about all I could say. Very good, very generous, this type. You're very close with their children.
Many of you watched tonight's CBS movie Judgment Day, the John List story. It was about the New Jersey accountant who slaughtered his entire family and managed to escape arrest for 17 years. We went to find out what the real John List was like and what might have driven him to murder. It was a crime that shocked not only the small town of Westfield, New Jersey, but the entire nation. On November 9th, 1971, John List shot and killed his mother, wife, and 3 children. The grisly discovery was made a month later. 4 of the bodies lying in the ballroom of the 19-room mansion.
Bloody cows and rags. That's one thing you never forget, something like that.
Next morning, changed his name to Robert Clark and spent the next 17 and a half years on the lam. But in 1989, the TV show America's Most Wanted profiled the case, and a caller from Denver blew List's cover, and a 5-page confession letter left the night of the murders. In it, List talked about financial troubles and how the family was straying from the church. List, who was devoutly religious, said he killed them to save their souls from hell and convicted him of 5 counts of first-degree murder. At his sentencing, List apologized.
That I remain truly sorry for the tragedy that happened in 1971. I feel that due to my mental state at the time, I was unaccountable for what happened.
But a psychiatrist, a witness for the prosecution, testified that List carried out the murders with the same cool mind. Dr. Stephen Simmering said List told him in a recent interview how he killed his wife.
Dr. Stephen Simmering interviewed List at length, and in riveting testimony today told the court what List told him.
He had debated the options, weighed them for at least 3 weeks, and had finally arrived at a decision, had secured the weapons, the ammunition, and decided that he would do it. It was a horrible thing. But once I started, I was like on auto drive. I killed all of them.
Who is in our bank right now, who says that her husband and children are being held at their house. The people are in a car outside the bank. She is getting $15,000 to bring out to them that if the police are told, they will kill the children and the husband. They have their faces covered. She is petrified. They told us they wouldn't hurt anybody if she got back there with the money.
And spread the word about how wonderful and giving Jennifer and their granddaughters, Haley and Michaela, were. In-law has lived with his parents since his home burned to the ground in 2007 with his tortured and murdered family inside.
Without my family, I would have been totally lost. You know, so I don't know how you get through something like this without family and a huge village of support.
Weekend marks 10 years since one of the most horrific and brutal crimes to ever happen in Connecticut, the Cheshire home invasion.
Killed sisters Haley and Michaela Pettit, as well as their mother, Jennifer Hawk Pettit, and the father, William Pettit, was left to die in the basement of that home.
Headlines around the world, but it began in the middle of the night with 2 ex-cons attacking Dr. William Pettit in his Cheshire home. Bob Picozzi was working the early shift and went right by the Pettit house. Stephen Hayes and Joshua Komisarjevsky tied up Bill Pettit in his basement. They tied daughters Haley and Michaela to their beds. They forced mother Jennifer to go to a bank and withdraw $15,000. She told the bank teller what was happening, but by the time first responders got to the house, the men had committed 2 rapes, 3 murders, and set fire to the house. Real garden planted in its place. Just like the burned out house became a beautiful garden, there is some good that came out of that terrible evil.
And as a father and as a husband, he's never going to forget, even though he's doing the best he can to rebuild his life.
I remember one time he said, I try not to think about what would have been because it just takes me to a dark place.
2933 Sam 14 for suspicion, 1055 Ramsdale Drive. Cop reporting suspicious behavior next door. Went over to the home to the right of the RP, sees dead bodies inside the house, dog inside, sees a gun in the house on the floor.
933, Captain. 1014, Captain.
2933 additional.
Right.
According to the RP, residents have been out of town since before Christmas. Now there are Christmas presents out front, a dog inside, and what looks like possibly bodies inside, a gun laying on the floor inside.
Copy.
Want me to start medics?
You can start them. I'll be en route in about 1 minute.
The producer who murdered his wife and daughter before taking his own life.
But the murder-suicide a year ago was far from cut and dry.
Through the Instagram filter of life, it's hard to imagine how it all went so wrong. His smart and beautiful wife, Kamal, a dietitian, and their adorable 5-year-old daughter, Rania. With paranoid theories all over the internet.
Guys out here going after the truth, get knocked off.
That the Crowleys were murdered as some kind of government conspiracy.
Any manifestation of the darkest trends, our negligence and malignancy have to offer.
Through 20 terabytes of video, David Crowley had kept on more than a dozen hard drives, looking for clues. Crowley traveled to Hollywood to meet with producers interested in Gray State, but by fall, the deal had fizzled. The old breadwinner, that she was not physically or emotionally abused, but the financial struggles made her question the marriage. By October, the family was essentially cut off from the world. David and Kamal stopped talking to their families, asking everyone to stay away, even changing their phone numbers. Once the couple left for each other around the house, an innocent child's room. Much of the crime scene itself we will not show you. All 3 bodies were found in the living room next to each other. They were badly decomposed and scavenged by the family dog. David shooting Kamal twice in the head, Rania once, before shooting himself. Between their bodies, a Quran, with pages torn out, opened to a traditional forgiveness prayer. And there on the wall, above the bodies, scrawled in blood, the words, Allah Akbar.